Hey, how's it going? I'm Hades, and today I want to talk about what I want the next NRS game to be. My hopes and dreams for that. So we all watched the Game Awards and we didn't get any announcements for the next NRS game, and that was very disappointing for us NRS fans. So we have the Summer Games Fest to look forward to. And I personally think that they may tease something, maybe the month of Summer Games Fest, and then announce the trailer. Reveal the trailer at Summer Games Fest. So, for the time being, we're just up to pure speculation. So, I'm going to start off with what I want their next game to be. And I'm going to be straight up, I want it to be a Mortal Kombat game. You know, I know a lot of people are burnt out on MK because of MK1. But I'm most definitely, personally, I'm more of an MK fan than Injustice. You know, that's not saying I wouldn't like an Injustice game. Right? It's been a long time since there's been an Injustice game, and I think Injustice 3 definitely deserves to be the next game. But I would just personally prefer an MK game. So, here's my thoughts. If they made an MK game as the next game, what I would want it to be like. So first I'm going to talk about gameplay. And honestly, as you see on the screen, I'm showing MKX. I think this is the best case scenario for gameplay. Maybe a little bit toned down in the 50/50s department, but besides that, I think MKX gameplay, just this, would be great. You know, maybe not the run button, maybe have like the wave dashing and footsies of MK11 and MK1, but definitely, you know, the combos, the variety, and just, you know, the skill ceiling of MKX. You know, MKX is over 10 years old now, and people still find new combo routes to this day, which is insane. And that's a pretty healthy player base. You see Destroy after you see all the time, you know, hosting tournaments or just first to 5s, first to 10 matches. And that's because the game's just fun as hell, right? So I definitely think the next NRS game, Mortal Kombat, should have MKX-like gameplay. You know, they should make it as MKX as they possibly can. Alright? And so, on to the next thing, modes. So MK1 is notorious for launching with the bare minimum. Not even the bare minimum, actually. Because to this day, MK1 still doesn't have online lobbies, which is ridiculous. Or online practice while you wait for a match. So I think the next NRS game, the next Mortal Kombat, should most definitely have modes and a lot more features, you know. It needs lobbies on launch. It needs crossplay on launch. And needs online practice and practicing while you wait for a match on launch. I think is very important, right? They should have all of the basics that we come to expect from a modern fighting game on launch, right? And that goes to the offline portion as well. Okay, MK, it should have the crypt, you know. It should have these other game modes like Test Your Might, Test Your Sight, stuff like that, right? MK1, it had like Test Your Might in the game, but locked off through invasions. And speaking of invasions, I don't think they should ever bring it back. I don't think invasions should ever come back. Everyone hates it. It's so boring, right? I think they should definitely stick to the classic MK modes, classic towers, etc. Oh, they can bring back Towers of Time, minus the time thing. I personally hated the time travel stuff. So just a alternate towers mode to unlock skins and gear. But definitely the crypt needs to come back for sure. You know, the invasions and the shrine, absolutely horrible, right? Excuse me. Very boring, very low effort, no passion put into it whatsoever. Alright. And yeah, definitely they just need to have all the classic modes. You know, I would love chess combat, motor combat, those modes from the 3D era. You know, I'm not expecting them at all. I wouldn't expect them. It'll just be cool. That's kind of like my wish list for, yeah, I'd fuck with that. So the next thing I want to talk about is the roster. Honestly, I think they should, MK1's roster, I think is honestly great, right? I think it's great, but I think they should just have it more like MK9. I think MK9 has the perfect MK roster. Like, hand to God, if they just came out with the roster that was copy and paste MK9's characters, I love it. I love it. I don't think they can get better than MK9. All of the classic characters that people love. They could definitely add in more characters that have become more, iconic, like Kotal Khan or Devora. I mean, more so Kotal than Devora. All those characters that people have grown to love over the years that are newer. But yeah. Yeah, definitely MK9's roster with all the classic characters, all the ninjas, and just to like some new beloved characters. Aaron Black for sure. I love Aaron Black. Definitely my favorite modern MK character. Maybe like one or two new characters. I personally don't think MK needs any more new characters, but who knows what NRS will do next, right? But yeah, I think that'd be an amazing, amazing roster. Amazing. Oh, and back to the gameplay. I apologize. One last thing for that. No gimmicks. No gimmicks. Once more, when I say the MKX, I know MKX had the variation system, but no weird gimmicks. I just want it to just be a full, complete character, no cameos, no variations, just classic fighting. So that's what I have left to say for the gameplay. My apologies. And now another topic is I want the game to be fully polished and somewhat bug-free at launch. I just want a fully complete bug-free working product. Alright? MK1, it launched terribly. Tons of bugs, tons of issues. Of course, unfinished. Especially me as a PC player, the game ran like shit. Pure shite on PC at launch. People with 4090s could not run the game. They just couldn't. A fighting game. Right, so they definitely need to make sure that the next Mortal Kombat game comes out polished to a T. And bug-free as much as possible. There's no such thing as a bug-free game in, modern AAA space, but they need to be damn close to bug-free. That's for sure. Alright? That's definitely for sure. For sure. I just want something that works. That's it. I want to spend my money, play the game, enjoy it. Excuse me. And now another thing that I want to talk about. It's kind of two things that go together. So the price, three things. Excuse me. The price, microtransactions, and the DLC packs. So the price of the game. I think we all know it's going to be $70. I'm fully expecting $70. That's just how it is. I'd prefer it to be $60 for the base game. That'd be dream. It's a fighting game, of course. It's not the next GTA. It's not Witcher. It's not Cyberpunk. I think $60 would be my preference. Cheaper is always better, but definitely I think it's going to be $70. But I don't think the deluxe edition should be $110 like MK1's deluxe edition was. They need to build back up good faith with their players. I think the deluxe at most should be $80 for the whole first combat pack, in addition to like some premium skins. And the premium currency, stuff like that. Excuse me. I think at most it should be $80. And for the combat pack, there's a lot of things with that. So first, the price. I think the next Mortal Kombat's combat packs, typically 2 combat packs, I think they should be priced at most $20, right? Maybe for a story expansion pack, $30 at most. We all saw what happened with Chaos Reigns. It was a dud, mainly because of the price, right? That thing went on sale immediately, because no one wants to spend $50 for just some characters in a fighting game, right? Let's be honest here. No one's made out of money, right? So definitely $30 at most for like a story expansion pack, not $50 ever again. Okay, they definitely fucked their players over with that one. And the contents of the combat pack. So I think it started with MK9 with guest characters, Freddy Krueger, Kratos. But MKX, they blew it up with like, Alien, Predator, Jason, and Leatherface, which is like a bit much. I love all those characters, don't get me wrong, but I definitely think MK characters deserve a lot more spots than guest, right? I think MK1 is the worst defender. You have T-1000, Ghostface, Homelander, Omni-Man, Peacemaker, Conan, 6 guest fighters in a Mortal Kombat game. Like, I thought this was Mortal Kombat. not guest fighter combat, not Terrordrome. If you guys know that game, you're dope. Yeah, definitely I want a preference, you know. I want to see more MK characters, honest to God. I want to see more MK. More Mortal Kombat, right? I think the next MK game should at most have 2 guest fighters. Like 2 really and heavily anticipated guest fighters that everybody wants. You know, I think everyone would want Doom Guy. Maybe like Geralt. You know, cool characters that are universally loved, right? So definitely think the next combat packs for, you know, the next MK game should have more MK characters than guest. 100%. At most 2 guests, right? So those are my thoughts on that. And the last thing, excuse me, the last thing I want to talk about that I think is really important is the support cycle, right? Specifically, how Ed Boon has treated talking about the topic. I think he's going to do the same thing again, to where he makes this huge promise of many years support and then just 2 years or less, right? With MK11, they promised years support. We didn't really get that. You know, people want to be technical, be like, oh yeah, we did, but you know, we got radio silence for what, a year or something like that. Then they said they stopped supporting the game, and they put out like one little final balance patch for it. Then with MK1, we all know how that went. You know, they're a lot more transparent with it, which, you know, props to them, right? Then just leave us on radio silence, right? But they just announced that they were, you know, focusing on the next game, which, cool, thank God, right? Next game couldn't come out sooner. But I think Ed Boon specifically needs to stop making these promises to the player base. I think he needs to be very ambiguous about how long the NRS team plans to support the current MK game, or just current NRS game in general, right? It just causes problems, and it makes your player base really salty when you make these promises and you don't fulfill them, like 100%. You know, I am very indifferent towards it in a way, because I fully was not expecting him to support the game for years to come. You know, I saw the writing on the wall with MK1. You know, I most definitely did not expect this game to get any more support than 2 years. It got a little bit less than that, actually, like a year and like 9 months. But MK1 is its own special case. So for the next MK, yeah, be very, very secretive almost about how long they plan to support the game, right? As NRS players, you know, I think we all expect each game to get at least 2 years of support. And I think it should just stay like that, right? You know, I don't think Ed Boon should continue getting the player base's expectations up so high, right? I think he should just not talk about it at all, you know? Just be strictly, you know, how the game is currently, or future DLC, all that stuff. And only talking about support when he's ending support, right? You know, I just think he should leave that alone. He's gotten a lot of backlash for it, you know? And I personally, you know, I love you, Ed Boon, but Jesus. Oh, Jesus, man. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on what I would want the next MK game to be, or just NRS game, honestly. You know, I prefer MK, but the next NRS game. Definitely after MK1, yeah, you know, they need to really step it up. They need to make this next game absolute banger after what they gave us with MK1. But those are my thoughts on what I want the next game to be. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.